Islam, the fake religion or not? Since I posted the video to compare Islam to a cult organization, I have listened to many people that left the religion for their own reasons. I have read a lot about Islam and came across many discrepancies in the Quran. After a lot more research, I came to the conclusion that Islam is a fake religion that uses threats and force to ensure they get followers to this so-called religion. One of the things that I cannot get my mind around is the blind following of this religion by so many. It would seem that they lack the understanding of this so-called holy book of theirs. After reading many translations of the Quran, it seems more like a fictional book than a divine-inspired book like the Bible. Since a big part of the Talmud was taken as inspiration for this fiction, many things were changed to suit the needs of the writers. And any person that knows the Old Testament of the Bible will recognize the alterations made. The authors of this book of fiction made so many mistakes in it that it can only be seen as a fictional piece of writing that endured many centuries. But it would seem that the writers needed some inspiration to get the book going, and that might be why they took the Talmud and altered it as part of the introduction to their religion. Many scholars pointed out the changes made and the errors that crept into the authoring of this book. But like many Muslims claim that their religion is that of peace, they seem to miss the many calls in this book for the killing of individuals that do not conform. Even though the basis of this book is the whole book of the Jewish faith, this book claims that even the Jews are the mortal enemies of the religion that sprout out of this book. How do you wrap your head around this one? The mere fact that this religion need to be enforced with the calls of violence against those that do not want to follow it, in itself is reason enough to start doubting this as a divine-inspired book. Then there is the fact that most Muslims still cling to the 7th century way of doing things when there were much less people in this world and even less in the desert regions where survival of the fittest ruled. They stun progress and further development of their own followers. This might be one of the reasons why most of the countries that proclaimed Islam as the official religion are so backwards. Then there is the self-proclaimed Prophet Muhammad. In many ways it could be interpreted that he became a warlord and believed that anything can be achieved by force and subjugation of the people concerned. Not only the mere fact that as far as he went, once he managed to get into a powerful family, war and violence followed him around. The more power he got, the more he wanted, and that is what Islam is based on, the gaining of as much power as possible and the enforcement of this 7th century laws that will not fly in the modern societies. Not only was the Prophet a powermonger, he was also a pedophile. In the modern day, if an adult male plays with young girls, he is condemned all over and ostracized from society. But courting a 6-year-old and get her parents to agree to marry a 50-plus-year-old man, this is just sick at any time in history. And then this prophet is revered for this, that he officially married Aisha when she was only 9 years old. And then there was the fact that he also had 9 wives that he apparently serviced all in one night when he felt like it. This is not only the mind of a sick person, but that of a sex addict. Then he went out and still bragged about it to his followers. This is all indications that he was either mentally unstable or just seeking more attention from his followers. As we only know the ages of 2 of his wives, I sometimes wonder what the ages were of his other wives and how many child brides he eventually took, because no adult woman actually wanted him around them except his first wife that was 15 years his senior. This would also lead one to think that he had a mommy complex or just saw an opportunity to marry into a rich family. Then this makes him an opportunist as well. Islam is definitely not a religion of tolerance. When it proclaims that all that do not want to follow this religion must be killed, it does not give others the choice as to what they should and should not believe. They do not allow free choice in the matter about what you are allowed to believe and what not. This religion is also a religion of suppression. Either you believe as they do, or you are a faithless individual that believe in nothing of substance. There is no room to interpret this book in any other fashion, and what it says is law, and any person or group that believe in anything else must be killed in the worst ways possible. Islam also enforces the degradation of society in the view that their Sharia laws that the firm believers try to enforce all over the world in this current day and age. If implemented all over the place, it will lead to a renewed oppression of woman as indicated in this holy book of theirs, where it preaches that women are subhuman and need the guidance of a man because they are not sound of mind. If you interpret some sections of this book, a woman's place is at home and should just look after the children while the men go out and do whatever they please. They stone women that pleasure men outside of wedlock because according to this book, the man seemed to be the weaker and cannot exercise control over his own body. Little do they think twice about the mere fact that it takes two individuals to fornicate out of wedlock. So where is the justice that they so demand of their followers, where only one party of the fornication gets punished while the other goes scot-free? Both parties should then be punished and not just one. The men that follow this book show very little respect to those that without there would be no human race to continue on this earth. There are also those that preach their religion in front of their families and friends, but when those persons are not close by, they perform quite differently. They will preach against the use of alcohol, but when they think there are nobody around that believes as they do, some will indulge in all types of alcoholic beverages. I have personally seen many Muslim men as drunk as skunks when there are no other Muslims around. And as soon as they return to their own communities, they preach again that alcohol is bad and should be banned all over the place. Many followers are devout, and that we should acknowledge. Even though we do not agree with their fake religion, we tolerate them. We that believe differently from them have a major problem these days with the mass migration of these people to places that do not support this religion. Places that are tolerant of all types of religions and will accept you for your actions, not your beliefs. The fact that these migrants believe that they are entitled to the proceeds of others' hard work without contributing much should be of concern. Then there is the fact that these groups form their own communities and refuse to integrate into the general societies of the host nations should also be of concern. By virtue of letting them into your country, the governments accept that these groups will contribute to the growth and benefits of the society in general. The opposite is actually true in many countries these days. Many of these so-called refugees from the Islamic countries refuse to integrate into the host societies and then will attempt to circumvent the law of the host country by claiming that their religious laws supersede the laws of the country. All too many of them depend on the welfare of these nations without contributing much. They bring violence to some of these areas and demand even more from their hosts. If they were so concerned over their own religious laws and want to follow these laws, why did they not migrate to countries where this religion and laws are implemented and leave the rest of us in peace to live our lives as infidels? Should they not be satisfied with the way these host nations treat them? It is easy to migrate to another part of the world where the laws that they prefer are enforced. So what I am saying is, leave the Christians, Jews, Hindus and other religious countries and return to the hellholes where you can practice your religions in peace. Stop with all the threats towards those that believe differently to yourself and just leave if you are not satisfied. Governments that are based on basic Christian value systems should be very concerned with the influx of these groups, as they are working to replace the long-established communities with their own people, and to hell with the laws of the country that hosts them. Their ultimate aim is to spread around the globe and take over every country by outbreeding the locals. They will become the majority in some countries in as little as 30 years from now. As can be seen in some countries, they have already infiltrated governments at the decision and legislative levels. When they reach a majority level in these governments, they will toss out all legislation and implement Sharia law. This will spell the downfall of all the advances that humanity has made over the last couple of centuries. All the nations that will succumb to this will revert back to third world countries. All basic human rights will be impeded when this happen, with the first to go would be women's rights. After that there would be massacres as they hunt and execute the LGBT communities. Then when they are finished with those individuals and groups, they will start to target every person that doesn't accept their fake religion. It will be converting or die. There are ongoing debates as to whether Sharia is compatible with democracy, human rights, freedom of thought, women's rights, LGBT rights, and banking. There are so many variants of these laws that I doubt that even the Muslims understand them all or which ones they want to implement worldwide. If all the different factions within the Muslim community can just get together and draw up a standard Sharia law that are for all their followers, it will make a big difference in their lives. But since Sharia is drawn from so many sides, that not even the followers can come to accord over what exactly Sharia is. It is so sad to see so many look past the failures of their prophet and still believe that he was the perfect man even though he had his flaws like any normal man. As for Islam being a religion, I feel very sorry for those that die for a fake religion, as they will be judged by the Almighty for their sins against the creation that He made. Jesus Christ warned His followers against the false prophets and that they will try to rule the world. You be the judge. Go in peace and follow the religion that you want, as nobody can prescribe to any other person what they should and should not believe.